I like my green with crystals like Folgers.
On an interview for the first time in his life, old school homie, Tupac Shakur confidant, Thug Life member, so on and so forth, and the list goes on and on. Give it up, party people, for my man Monook in the house, man. What up, G?
It's good to be here with you, my brother.
How you doing, man?
Hey, man, you know, it's just good to be here to see you, man. You know, it's been a long time since we've been in a room like this together.
I know, right, man? I love it, man. First of all, let me just say welcome. We have talked about this for a while. We brought this up at least, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years ago. I can't remember when we first talked about it, but now we are bringing it into fruition, baby.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about. There's so much to dig into. Let me just also say that I'm really proud of you for doing this, because you have such an important story to tell that hasn't been told. And it's like, this should last forever, man. You know what I mean? And so 100 years from now, when somebody wants to look into the nuances of this story, man, they're going to be hearing your voice too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
Yep. So that's important, dog.
Well, like I say, man, you know, it took me a long time to even consider sitting down, even talking about it. And the reason for it is because people look at it as it's this big old thing. But as you know, us growing up, it was just normal to me.
Right.
So it wasn't really nothing to talk about. That's just like they saying, oh, what's up with you and Mike? You know, yeah, me and Mike hang out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So just because Mike then blew up, don't mean that we ain't just old Mike, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really nothing to bring to the attention, you know. I guess you could say more so me sitting down with you now. It's just because it's just a lot of more, I guess you could say, people coming up with their own impressions, their own ideas, you know.
Right.
So I'm just here to set the record straight. You know, I lived it. I was there in person.
Yeah,
so
facts.
I'm just here to set all the records straight. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
here we are.
All right, man. Well, we're going to get into it, man. So basically, man, just to start in the beginning, you became famous to the world by getting these shout-outs from Pac on these records, especially so much on All Eyes on Me.
Syke, New, Hank, Coco, Big Church. Y'all know how this shit go, you know. All eyes on me.
You did the tours with them as far as being on the road and all that through Thug Life and all that. So what was it like for you to, you know, to hear your name on wax back then? We called it being on wax. What was it like to you?
The thing about that is, again, I guess it wasn't nothing because it was just something that was happening. You know, we be in the room and, you know, they kicking their little beats and they coming up with their little rhyme. And Pac was one of them visionary kind of persons, you know. So he would always throw different things out. Excuse me. So it was more so, to me, back then especially, was just, okay.
Just whatever, huh?
It wasn't, you know, it wasn't no big deal. See, I guess what everybody don't understand, when Pac first came to Inglewood and started hanging with us, he probably was around 19. So it was just kind of like a young kid where here we are already in our early 20s, you know. So we didn't kind of already live life in that fast lane. We kind of on this slow phase now. You know, we finna start families type of atmosphere type. So, you know, we was a little bit more laid back at that point in time. So, again, all the stuff that was happening, it was just something that we got up and did every day.
Let's go to the moment. Like, how'd you meet him?
Well, the thing about that, I met him on my birthday. What happened was we was at the house in Inglewood, and we were just sitting around, you know, popping a couple of bottles. And it wasn't even really like no big old gathering or nothing, you know what I'm saying? A couple of regular people that was always hanging out at the house anyway. And not even knowing that Serge, you know what I'm saying? Again, Serge was his cousin, and we hung out with Serge because he was from Inglewood. But not even knowing that Serge going to pick up Pac or none of that. Just so happened when he picked him up from LAX, he knew that we was over at the house celebrating my little birthday, so they decided to come through after they came from the airport before he took him to his room, basically.
Oh, okay.
So, he got there, he's saying quite naturally, he see some niggas, what I'm saying. We was having a little bit our way at the time. So it kind of amused him. A young kid, what I'm saying. He kind of just like, bam. So basically, he came out here, did his little work that he had to do. He was trying to do Poetic Justice, the interview part, not the movie part. He was trying to...
like auditioning?
Right, he was trying to meet with him. They was talking about it. So that's what he had came out. He had already did Juice, but it hadn't came out yet.
Okay.
And so we didn't really know it then. When he did that thing with Digital Underground, it wasn't like he stood out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when he walked in that day at the party, nigga, you know what I'm saying? He was just Pac. You know what I'm saying? Nigga still hadn't put him with Digital Underground that day.
Right.
It didn't even register to us like that. You know what I'm saying? That probably came back later on, you know what I'm saying, when probably, like I said, after he got the job to do the movie, he came back to do the movie, so quite naturally, he called a surge like, you know what I'm saying, tell your boy, let's hang out. I'm here. So, I don't know, it's probably about...
How much time lapse right there? Like, from that first night he came and getting the part and y'all seeing him again. Was it quick?
Yeah.
It was quick.
It was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, the coolest thing about it was, I think John Singleton, he was already locked in from day one. Right. So it wasn't like he had to really, Pac, he wanted Pac. So I guess he already had Janet on board. So once he, I guess it was when he probably came to sign the paperwork, because he came right back and started working on it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay. So when he was offset, he was coming to hang with y'all, pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, also in the crew is Big Syke, who had his own rap group at the time, right, which was called Evil Mind Gangsters, with Big Syke, Domino, and Mental Illness. And that was already in motion because he had already, he already had a tape and everything, right?
He was
and
shooting
videos and
everything.
Right. So when did it come together that Pac was doing music and you guys are doing music? And like, when did y'all start sharing with the music?
Well, you always knew he was doing music. So what happened was when he came back to start shooting the movie, he also was finishing up Strictly for My Niggas album.
Okay.
So 'cause he was working on both of them, at the same time. See, that's another atmosphere that we'll get into later on about Pac. But he was there to shoot the movie, and he was still working on his second album. Matter of fact, it wasn't Strictly for My Niggas. I think it was Tupacalypse was the one. He had just finished Strictly for My Niggas. So I guess you could say by Syke being into music already, it's just something that just clicked, And then, like I said, he was so, I would say, impressed, with how we was already moving through the city, where, he just locked in. So basically, he was a part of that movement in Syke Day. That's why I said we got the video we'll put up later in the show. Once they did that, I guess you could say that Pac seen that and seen another vision. I guess where he can kind of take that atmosphere, and multiply it. So, again, through circumstances, you also then name Chainsaw, which was Syke's little brother. He was also in Evil Mind.
Oh, I didn't know he was in the group. I forgot
brother.
about that. Okay.
Yeah, his baby brother in there. So after incident with his baby brother, then, I guess I'm not gonna say it shook him, but it was more like, okay, he kind of sat back a minute, because quite naturally he going through the drama of that. And I guess in that instance, Pac probably seen, with his mind frame that he have, he's seen an opportunity and he seized on it. Because what ended up happening was, by Syke putting his group, a back seat because of what happened to his brother, made him put more time into this. So him and Pac grew real close. You know, they started running together. You know what I'm saying? He was doing all the shows with Pac and everything. And again, Pac was like a genius when it comes to this type of business. You know, he kind of just knew it. It was, I guess we could say some people just have it.
Right.
He was one of them kind of person. So what he ended up doing with that was, once he came up with the concept of Thug Life and they put all the stuff, start putting all the stuff together, well, he was still doing Tupacalypse. Ready,
okay.
It's ready to drop.
Oh, so when he was working on the album, he already had the Thug Life concept going on way before?
He had, well, that's what I'm telling you. That's how genius he was. Once he seen Syke's situation, because basically he copied the situation. You know, basically Thug Life.
What you mean by that?
That's what I'm going to tell you. Basically, Thug Life is Evil Mind Gangster.
Oh.
You see what I'm saying? It's the same concept, but it's still, I guess we could say, debatable. Because as we get deeper into the story, my niggas that's on the East Coast, you know, they had a group called Thugger Don, and he was also tied in with them. So we can't really say where everything originated from. The only thing that I could say was, in the original album, it was all West Coast. Mm-hmm. But by the time y'all got the album when it hit the streets, it was a little bit of West and East mix.
Okay.
You know, that, and again, that was because, you know, the way everything was bouncing around. Again, I guess we'll get deeper in that as we go farther.
So there's a lot of people. There is a lot of people, but there's people out there that's really got their ears to the street and really understand the music and everything, that think like there's similarities with Pac and mental illness, and similarities really with Pac and Syke as far as his voice and projection and stuff like that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Do you think they influenced him like directly?
Well, I'm gonna say again, Pac was a genius. So he seized on things that elevated his style. I put it in this saying for me and you, and then, you know, you can kind of relate to what I'm saying. We know how Kobe was towards his profession.
Yeah.
Well, Pac was the same way.
Right.
He, you know, like I tell people all the time, I'm not gonna say Pac was the greatest rapper I know. I'm not gonna give him that title.
Right. Okay.
But I don't believe no rapper would have out-rapped him, because his work ethic, his mind frame is too strong for anybody to outdo him.
Okay.
He had that type of mind frame. Mm-hmm. That's why that his whole life that we see splashed before the public now,
right,
happened in 11 months. Right. See, that's all they give in the world now is 11 months of his life.
Oh, you talking about the death row years?
You got, anything that you see is coming through that 11 months.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But he accomplished so much now in them 11 months. He probably like in some people's lifetime.
Right.
That he didn't do within 11 months. So it's valid, but it's more to it than just 11 months, of course.
Okay. Yeah, it's got to be more to it. So because there's a transition, as me as a fan, there's a clear transition that Pac went through from being in Oakland and you know, you could say starting under Digital Underground, but even blossoming on his own while in Oakland, and then coming to LA, linking up with you guys really, and honestly, man, at least visually changing his whole style. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So do you think he was paying homage by doing that?
Well, I tell people that all the time. I'm gonna say he was from my point of view, but the story is that people don't know. I'm not saying not understanding. What ended up happening was when Pac came to the neighborhood and got a whiff of mental, he was blown.
I'm in misery. Last night I made history. I killed 50 people that didn't do to me. Don't ask why. No, I wasn't high. Just mad at the world. Someone had to die. Can't be faded. I'm more than gang affiliated. Only fear of death is coming back reincarnated. I had it hard in the world. Caught me off guard. My best homies lying dead in his front yard.
He already said he's gonna be one of the greatest rappers ever. He already had labeled him that. He was already a fan of him. You know, he really wanted to work with him. But Pac was one of them kind of person where he liked talent. So he would work with anybody. You didn't have to have a big name, you know what I'm saying? He liked talent. If he liked what you got, you good to go. So in Monook's case, you know, he was strictly gangbang mentality. So once Pac worked with someone that he would consider an enemy, he was just turned off of Pac all completely. So no matter, and I'm gonna say this just to give Mento a little bit of break. Pac wasn't Pac yet at this time. You see what I'm saying? See, Pac didn't really come Pac until after Mento had already passed. So just to give him that, he was still,
so Mento was judging it through the eyes of like.
well, Mento didn't care. Mento it was just gang bang out, and you mess with somebody that I don't get along with.
Right.
So if you mess with them, I'm not gonna mess with you. He had that mentality.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So when Pac was like, Mento, come to the studio, you know what I'm saying, and do something with him, he would go back and tell Syke, oh man, you know I ain't messing with that nigga. He messing with them niggas from on the other side, you know, that type of thing. You know. So basically,
So there's that.
that's where it happened. But again, it was a short period of time that this happened. Understand that I want to say it had to been probably within 6 months of us meeting Pac
Right.
that Mento ended up getting killed.
Right.
So
okay.
that's where we would say that he paid homage because he started, not said imitate him, but started, you know, I would say making Mento style fashionable. I would go with that. Because Pac took his style and made it fashionable. See, Mento was just gang banged out.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Pac wasn't gang banged out, but the same look. He just made it fashionable.
Right.
So I would say, yeah, he was, you know what I'm saying? And as you see, he talked about him a lot.
Yeah.
You know, him and Kato, they, you know what I'm saying? Both of them was good people.
Right.
And he seen that in them. And even though they was only around for a very short period of time in Pac's life, they both made a very big impression on him.
Right.
That's why he talked about him a lot.
Right.
You know, they had a lot of love. So I guess through that love, you know, he was able to it. Because, was it Mitchell or was it Kato? I don't know which one it was. I don't know if it was Mento or Kato, but Pac had never even went to a funeral before one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dang, man. I mean, there's a lot
And
of
he
songs.
came on his own. You know, he got in the cab and showed up at whatever that dang on down Crenshaw.
Yeah, that's like, man, there's classic songs that Pac has that's influenced by them. You know what I mean? Is it Heaven for a G?
Well,
all these things, especially on All Eyes on Me by the time we got to that.
Again, I would say that I used to tell people Pac was like a chameleon. He can be anybody. You know, he can see probably some of the stuff that you didn't see. And I guess as we get down to the story, that was probably part of him and Syke splitting.
Really?
Yeah, that was maybe, you know, and not in so many words, but of course, me and Syke, you know, like I said, we've been knowing each other again since Sandbox days. So it was more little things being said that you could tell that, okay, it might be a little bit of a rift, but not intentionally, I would say.
Really?
Just, you know what I'm saying, just off of meaningful conversation around the house. Because again, me and Syke also lived together at that particular time in life.
Okay, man, I know that was wild, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah.
I like my green with crystals like Folgers.
You're taking me into a direction of Pac being a chameleon. Do you think his acting background has something to do with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. like I said, Pac is, I don't even know. I mean, I wouldn't say a perfectionist. I wouldn't put him in that type of category. But Pac does do his homework in any situation. If you go over Pac's house and go to the bathroom, he gonna have a stack of magazines right here of everything that's going on. You know, all the magazines, because he just reading through, because he want to know where your mind frame is at. So, you know what I'm saying? He reading all the articles, all the hip hop, all everything. See, he want to know what everybody else is thinking. And that's how he gathers his thing. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't think nobody would have outworked him. Me personally.
I mean, it wasn't happening, sure. Damn sure wasn't happening when he was alive.
No,
I mean,
but see, and that's another thing. Now we're gonna probably jump into the story further, but that's like what I say when he got to Death Row, he turned everything around up in there because no one has seen the work ethic that Pac had. We grew up with it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? We've seen it every day.
Right.
So quite naturally, it made us sharpen too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, he was able to juggle so much in so short period of time, but he was focused like that. It was no problem to him. It became second nature.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I never seen Pac sweat nothing. Anything that he was doing, he just walked right into it. You know.
Dang.
Like I say, we go to the studio, we sit in the studio. He say, put a beat on. They play the beat. Next thing you know, he done wrote probably half of the song. He waiting on them niggas to write their verse and do whatever they gonna do.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And again, if he doing the whole song, quite naturally, he might have to go back and do some uplifts and some touch up here and there.
Right.
But basically, the frame of the song is done.
Right.
And he like put another beat in. Let's keep going. So yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so no sitting there listening to it all night long.
No, see, that's what I'm trying to tell you. When he went to Death Row, he turned their whole thing up. Because, see, we already know Death Row was built up on a Dre mentality, period. And we already know Dre takes 10 years to put out one song, let alone 2 album type shit. You see what I'm saying? They don't work in that fast of a pace. So, even Suge being at the top, he's still under the influence of Dre, because that's the way they all came in. You know, Dre being the nigga that's supposed to know what's going on. So Snoop, all of that, that's why they wasn't having no albums coming out like that. They come out every 4 or 5 years because that's the way their mentality was built up on Dre running the show. But once Pac got there, Pac was a nigga, he going to work every day. See, I mean, giving Pac a studio, that was kind of like the worst thing you can really do. you know, like I said, when what we did with Interscope was, when Interscope did Strictly for My Niggas, right?
Right.
No, not Strictly for My Niggas, Tupacalypse, that's the one. Where I Get Around and all that shit on there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what Pac, the genius that I say Pac had, because by him working as fast as he is. Mm-hmm. So Interscope, they go over there, rent the studio for him to lay the tracks for, I Get Around or whatever, right? He go in there and lay that shit in 5 minutes, so now you got all this extra time. So bam, them niggas probably will throw on a beat that's gonna go on the Thug Life album under that same time. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And not only that, once we went on the show, now he gonna give you the show, don't get me wrong. He gonna get up there just like he was supposed to, and give you that I Get Around, promote the album, do all that. But right in the middle, he be like, hold up. Let me give y'all some of this new stuff I got finna come out. Right. And they all go straight into Thug Life. Then the group take over. And then we finish the show with basically on a Thug Life high. You see what I'm saying? And basically that's how they was selling the album. And quite naturally, we might have came along as personal, investors,
right.
And did a couple of things just to finish it up.
Right.
But once Interscope finally accepted and bought the project, then quite naturally they finished funding.
It was on, huh?
Yeah, they finished funding everything in that sense.
So, what was Pac like artistically when the cameras was off, you're not in the studio, y'all just posted up, chilling at the crib or whatever? Did you see him writing?
No.
Nope.
No.
So he only wrote in the studio. Put the beat on. I'm writing here. Did he have his notepad?
No.
Did he? Was he doing poetry?
No.
No, you didn't see that.
Nope. I'm gonna tell you the craziest thing about it, as you said, because I never even thought about that question until now. But now that I look back, Pac was only working in the studio as far as when it's time to do some writing. You know, he might have brought a notebook, you know what I'm saying, that he had some stuff in it that I don't know whenever he probably had some spare time at home or when he was by himself. I don't really know. But when we was all over at the house, we was either getting ready to go somewhere or sitting around the house, you know what I'm saying, smoking, again, probably getting ready to go somewhere. I don't never remember us just sitting around where he was just working, writing.
Right.
No.
Okay.
Okay,
so in y'all personal time, he just relaxing, chilling like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But again, our personal time in his life was business time. Because again, at that particular time, he was on the ride. And once Juice hit, his stardom just struck straight to the top after that.
Mm-hmm.
So everything really started kind of happening more faster.
You know, to the public, it appears that the role of Juice changed Pac. The public looks at it like he started becoming the character.
No.
Do you
No.
see any similarities to that, or any?
No.
You get that no respect.
No.
And I'm understanding this story now because before he even met you guys, he had already done Juice.
Right.
So his influence wasn't Juice.
No. See, okay. I tell Pac like this. I tell people like this. Look at Pac as your little homie that's earning his stripes. He was just doing stuff that we normally do coming up. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't one of them niggas that was just going to fade coming up through the crack and you wasn't going to be noticed. You know, he was going to always be the nigga that was going to be in the front of the line with everybody else. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't just going to hang in the back of the crowd. He wasn't that kind of person. You know, I could tell you the story, you know, we probably talked about it just among the people back then, the friends and everything, but I'll tell you this one story because you can relate to it. One day we had Surge House on the 5, right? And, you know, quite naturally, Surge was the barber for us. So we finna go up to the shop on Manchester to get the haircut. So we all jump in the car. Surge and Pac, they jump in Pac Jeep, Pac driving, Surge in the passenger seat. Me and Paint, we in my car behind them. We get to Perry and 104th at the light. Somebody did something stupid. I don't know what he did. Maybe he didn't take off fast, or maybe the light was turning red, you know, on a yellow, and he stopped instead of going on through it or whatever. But anyways, Pac then was behind him. Now, at that time, Pac had 2 Glocks that he used to call the twins. He was always carrying them, right? He jumped out hollering at the nigga on Perry in 104. We looking at him, nigga, do you know what street you on?
Right.
Nigga? If you don't get this nigga back in the car, you know.
Right.
But that's the kind of mentality, you know what I'm saying, that he had at that younger age.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He just had that type of, you know, and not that he was a high-head. It wasn't like that. You know, he was always, I would consider, a level-headed person. But, you know, he was going to always be in the mix. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I look at Pac like, we all have complexities to our personalities. You could be this way one day, this way another day, so on. Pac seemed to have a lot of, view it as complexities, like one day, you know, he's sentimental, another day he's fiery, turning it up, another day is party bubble, another day is artistic. I'm doing this artist shit, I'm doing industry shit, I'm doing street shit. He just seemed like to be all over the place as far as his personality goes. Did you pick up
Okay.
on that, or do
Well,
you see any?
No, I'm gonna agree with you though. Not that I seen any of that or picked up on anything. The reason why I'm gonna agree with you is because I know his life. You know, I'm not. Well, I guess I'm gonna say semi-hectic because of all the different shit that was going on. So you can sure a person would have different mood swings compared to all the shit that was thrown at him. You know, on a different day and different time. So by him being exposed to the public, you was able to see some of the days that wasn't cooled down.
Right.
You know, the days that we go through where we think a nigga that walked on us and, you know, we can't do shit about it, you know, or we just that kind of person.
Yeah.
You know, but overall, like I say, I don't think people got enough of Pac's good side. One thing I can say that Pac did do, and thanks to Madonna, because she the one who told him, that all publicity is good publicity, no matter if it's good or bad. People is talking about you.
Right.
So it's what you make out of it. So sometimes I think in him knowing that, he might have pushed a couple of envelopes just, you know, to keep shit going.
Oh, okay. He was pushing the envelope sometimes on purpose.
Because, like I said, in they type of life, the worst thing that can happen to them is nobody talking about them. So it doesn't matter if it's good or bad, your name is being spread through the household, and that's always a good thing in their lifestyle.
Right. Got you. No, that makes perfect sense. So did you know his mom's, Afeni?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. See, and what I would say about that is, and that's good you bring it up. I'm glad you did, because I like to talk about that part of life. When people ask me, so what was Pac, you know, how was y'all, you know what I'm saying, like the friendship, or, you know, how was it, you know what I'm saying? Well, I tell them it was nothing. Because it's just like me and you.
Right.
We, you know what I'm saying? I can't explain how it is. We just hang out. We just kicking it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see nothing but Pac.
Right.
You know, so I don't really know how to explain like how he was, because he was just like all the rest of my friends I hang out with. They all the same. You know, everybody do different things, but they all to me is the same level.
Right.
You know, so when people ask me that, I say nothing. But what I do say is me and Mom. See, me and Mom's is on a whole nother level, and she's a very unique woman.
Okay.
I mean, someone that you would really, really want to know, because I guess her life is just, I don't know, but very sweet, gracious woman, you know. And what ended up happening with her, when me and her got our bond, that is when Pac went to jail. Well, quite naturally, when
You mean in New York? When he went to jail?
When he went to jail the
Okay.
last time.
Okay.
The last time.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. Well, when he went to jail to do his time, he was the breadwinner of the family.
Mm-hmm.
So quite naturally, everybody was kind of maybe in a shamble, you know, into what might just be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, the kind of person I am, and, you know, what I do, you know, I go and snatch Moms up and let her hang out at one of my houses. You know what I'm saying? Just not saying that I went and got her so she can move in, or she didn't have nowhere to go or anything, but to kind of take that initial stress and worry off a person. You know, so you just lost a breadwinner, your son went to jail for the first time, you know what I'm saying? So, bam, you know, I was in a position, and her mom was cool, so they hung out together.
Now, she was living here, right? L.A.?
No. Well, again...
When you speak of moving her into your crib, are you talking about L.A.? Or
Well,
you talking
L.A. was
Atlanta?
one of them.
Okay.
No, L.A. was one of them, and then, you know, I had a house up in Sacramento, so her and mom bounced it back and forth between
sweet.
them two houses at that time. The only person that had the house in Atlanta at the time was Pop. He had just bought a house in Atlanta, but I don't know, for whatever reason, the mom didn't go there. The sister, she went, and the Outlaws, all them niggas went there, but I don't know why. You know, I'm sure she could have. You know, the house was there, but she ended up coming to hang out with Mom, and that's where I relationship grew tight. You know, I guess she was always grateful for that little period of time. You know, I guess you could say when you do something for somebody, you don't really know how big it really is until later on in life.
Yeah, right.
It was one of them type of situations with me
Okay.
and her. So after that happened, you know, I went and seen Pac when he was at Rikers Island. I went and visited him. And, you know, I was telling him about the situation with me and mine, don't worry about her, you know, everything gonna be cool, you know what I'm saying? Taking also the worry off of him.
Right.
You know. So basically I did them two moves. And it was kind of, you know, a bad time between them two too. You know. They wasn't really speaking to each other at the time.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, that was a whole thing within itself. But back to me and Mom, well, after doing all that, and we fast forward to the end here, is once she got control of everything, once everything became into her control, and she ended up moving from Atlanta, she ended up moving up north to the Bay, where she passed that. So by me being in Sacramento, I took the kids to see her when she first moved there. So again, you know how I am, you know. We all go out to dinner. Now, even though the woman worth baby like $60 million now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We go out to dinner. I'm just that gentleman. I need to pay the check. You know,
Right.
that's just how it is.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can't, you know. So, before the check came, she had already sent the card over there, and they already had paid.
Oh, they had paid it. She hit you with that one.
So, what I do now is, right, the next time we all get together, we go hang out at the beach. I get up in the morning and barbecue, so that way she ain't got to spend the money. You see what I'm saying? I'm going to bring the food. That's how I played it the second time we got together.
Oh, you brought the food.
Exactly. I barbecued and brought it. So, what ended up happening is we got together the third time. Now, like I said, now that she done moved to the Bay, I tell Mom, so Mom fly up to Syke, and we all go to hang out one day. So we go to the pier in San Francisco, you know, everybody ordering their food and everything. So I went to pay. So just this nice little lady, you know, she just stepped to me nice and calm and everything. She said, baby, I know you can do everything. Let somebody do something for you sometime. From that point on, I just sat back.
Gotta let her moms be
I
moms.
just sat back from that point on.
Now, let me get the timeline right, because when Dear Mama, the song came out, he was in jail, right? He was in jail. So she didn't know about the song, or did she know? Oh, she knew. How did that make her feel? That song being #1 in the world.
Well, again, like I said, I'm going to come and tell the real. And she was embarrassed.
She was embarrassed.
Because, again, it was like you put my business out in the street. But as the song grew, she was very pleased because she now got the concept of the song. You know, it's not that you put my life out in the streets. You talking for all the mothers.
Right.
So I can respect it better. I think eventually she took it that way.
Okay. All right, that's interesting. So she, you know, she always was a crack fiend, mama, all that kind of stuff was embarrassing to her at first. But it's also his truth.
Well,
because look, let's say this, right?
See,
let me just say this right quick. Pac, okay, Afeni was in jail, pregnant. Troopers shining lights in her eyes, won't let her sleep. She was malnourished, not giving her food and water, not sleep, couldn't see her lawyers. All these people pregnant in jail with Pac in her stomach. You know what I'm saying? People don't start their life out like that. You know what I mean? Most people don't start their lives like that.
Well, that's funny because if you look at mostly, I'm going to say mostly, all famous people, they got a story.
Yeah. But that's a unique one.
I mean, they all different now, but for some form, they all do have a story.
Yeah.
But, his is very unique, you know what I'm saying? But I think also that is what probably shaped Pac to being who he was. Because what Afeni used to always say was when she was in jail, she did a lot of reading. You know, she educated herself a lot in the law. And again, by you being pregnant, and they say, you know what I'm saying, whatever you take in, the pregnancy, you get a support of it. So I think that probably helped him educate it, because he was definitely a reader. You know, he read novels. He was up on anything. Anything that he was up on it, and he did, like I say, his research. He was very composed on all that, I would think.
I like my green with crystals like Folgers.
Okay, so let's talk about New York. Did you know Biggie?
Yeah.
Did you know Biggie like on a personal relationship level?
Well, the funny thing about that is, okay, we have to go back, before we could talk about Biggie, we have to go back to Stretch, because Stretch is New York. We start there. What ended up happening was Stretch and Biggie is like me and you. You know, all them niggas in New York went to high school together. They all know each other.
Right.
You know, all that type of stuff going on. So they had that kind of relationship. And him and Pac also had a relationship, but true enough, it was more a business relationship, but they had created such a brotherly bond between the two of them that you would thought they was brothers. You know, they was like glue.
You talking about Pac and Stretch or
Yeah,
Pac and Biggie?
Pac and
and Stretch.
Stretch.
Okay,
Pac and Stretch.
okay.
Like I say, before we can even talk about Biggie, you have to talk about Stretch,
Okay.
because it wouldn't be. So, again, Stretch was one of them characters where once Pac was coming to L.A. messing with us, and him and Stretch, like I said, was like brothers. Quite naturally, he was going to introduce it to us. So we all, created a bond. Now, when Pac went to New York and kicked it with Biggie, we didn't go. Maybe, I don't remember me and Syke really talking about it, but Syke traveled with him all the time. We didn't. So maybe when he went to New York and Syke happened to be there with him, maybe they all kicked it. I don't know.
Okay.
All I know is when I got to meet Biggie, Pac was in jail, and Stretch now is running with Biggie. So when Biggie came to L.A. and Syke, matter of fact, when he came to L.A. and Syke to do a show, we went up there and, did the show. And we kicked it like that. But nothing like me and Pac at all.
Okay, what about Puffy?
No.
No meets with Puff?
No.
Okay. So, so in New York, sticking with New York, Pac gets shot in New York. Where are you guys when that happens?
L.A.
You're in L.A.
I flew out maybe like 3 days later when I got there.
Yeah. And then it also happened right while he was on trial, right?
In the middle of trial, yeah.
Now, how was Pac feeling, man? Like you weren't there with him, but knowing him, what's going through your head that's probably going through his head?
Well, again, I don't really know, like I said, when it first happened, I don't really, know. By the time I got there, like I said, 3 days later, he probably had already kind of, I guess you could say accepted or dealt, Where when I first seen Pac, all he said to me was, excuse me, every time I talked to the Outlaw, they was like, oh, Nuke on his way, Nuke on his way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how he said in that situation. And then basically it was just more at that time, how you feeling, not even saying what to happen. I don't even think we discussed that at that time. It was just more of how you feeling, you need anything type of situation. We were just on that level when I first seen him on that.
When you first seen him.
Yeah. Now, when we did talk about it, everything had already blew up by then. when we finally talked about him. Because when we finally talked about him, I went and visited him at Clinton. When he went to Clinton Correctional, I flew up there. And that's when we had more in depth. But by then, everything had already hit the fan, or on the way hitting the fan.
So this is, you're talking about after he was sentenced?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
no,
after
he was doing his time.
He was doing his time.
Mm-hmm.
Dang. Now, what was how was the spirits when you saw him?
I'm gonna say both times they was good. It wasn't no down or no. Even like I said, shit was finna hit the fan, and we was talking about different shit when I went and seen him in Clinton. When I went and seen him at Rikers, when he first got locked up, and I went and seen him at Rikers Island, it was just more so like, damn, Nuke at Rikers Island. It was just more surprise when I walked in. Like, nigga, you on Rikers Island. You know what I'm saying? That's how, we was more on that spirit. So he had up, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But once he transferred to the pen to do the actual time, and I went and seen him, it was more like a family type of shit. Me and my girl and my son, we all flew out there.
Got you.
And visit him, you know what I'm saying? But the thing about it is, what I didn't know was, I guess by him knowing I was coming, he did end up flying Syke and Mo that same weekend. Because we all ended up sitting down having a meeting, eventually about some, shit that was gonna happen before he ended up bailing out. But yeah, he was upbeat. He was upbeat. It wasn't never no downbeat, He was I would assume that he accepted. Like I said, the biggest thing about that situation that I look back at is, I guess I was still caught up, from the old school, I guess you could say, because I didn't know the situation where once you go do your time, once the appeal come through, you can bail back out. See, nobody never put me up on that game, because I probably would have bailed out no time myself back then in the day. So nobody put me up on that game. You see what I'm saying? That was all new to me when it happened. I'm like, damn, nigga, you bail back. I thought you doing your time.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah.
So again, because at that time, probably if I would have known that type of situation, we probably would have got the nigga out, you know what I'm saying, ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I didn't never, knew that was possible until after he did it.
Did you hear Pac talk about doing these projects with East Coast and West Coast?
No. See, again, once you start going into, I'm going to say, he was out for 11 months. I'm going to say probably the last 6 to 5 months of his life. Then we wasn't even around at all.
Okay. Okay, so hold that thought. We're going down the timeline. So look, let's go to Pac Gets Out, right? Mm-hmm. I remember myself, because you just explained it to me, so now I know how, right? But I remember in the moment saying, like, how is this nigga out?
Exactly.
And my boy Conrad, who is an MC, was in the studio with them. It was first night. Mm-hmm. So first night home, apparently he went to the studio. Or was it not the first night?
No,
second night?
It was the second night.
Second night. Okay. So the homie says, Pac, nigga, I was in the studio with this nigga all night or whatever. I'm like, man, you lying, man. He's like, nah, man, he kicking some fire too and all that. So let's talk about when Pac got out. Did you know it was going to happen? Or did it surprise you and now he's out?
No, I knew it was happening. Me and Syke lived together.
All right.
And Syke went to pick him up.
Syke went to New York to pick him up? Okay. Syke went to New York.
He went to the prison.
Oh, went to the prison, pulled up on him. Man, what are friends for, man? For real, though. You know what I mean? Right. Because Syke looked at Pac like more of a little brother, like a friend. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. In a friend, little brother, more so than like a group Remember, we rapping together, right?
Well, yeah. Like I said, I mean, you know us. So you know that Inglewood connection. We, you know what I'm saying? We all connected to each other. Don't matter if we ain't seen each other forever.
Right.
We got that connection that
Right.
we gonna always have, that type of bond. So by Syke having that same bond, quite naturally, he was gonna take the Pac. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it was probably more so of my little brother type of situation. I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say that.
So Pac came out, man, and was on fire, right? Did you see another level of vengeance, or not vengeance? That's not the word. Another level of just fire, like a spark, in Pac when he came out, or was it just the same?
I'm gonna say it was the same. What might have changed was him pushing that theory a little harder. You know, maybe once he seen that everybody took hold to it, he just drove it in him. I could say that might have changed.
Okay.
If I had to say something that had changed,
Okay.
I would have to choose that.
Okay. So he came and went right into All Eyes on Me, and you guys are in the studio with him every day, basically, right? How quick did he do that album?
3 weeks.
3 weeks. That whole double CD, 3 weeks.
And it's more songs that was supposed to go on the album that didn't make the album. You know, every song don't make it.
Yeah, so you're right. Every song don't make it, right? So one of my discussions with Corrupt, right? He said how Pac was cracking that whip on everybody because niggas was taking too long with their songs.
I told you.
And he said that
I told you.
he said that basically, including himself, right, who's a spitter, they'll play a song, smoke weed, and listen to it for a couple days, all that. And he said, Pac said, no, this shit is it's a rap.
Listen, that's what that Dre mentality. I just told you that.
Yeah.
They came in there. There wasn't no hurrying. You know, they didn't have a hurry mentality. And Pac don't have a hurry mentality neither. He's just a workaholic.
Oh.
He just work.
Right.
So he ain't got time if me and you gonna do a song and you take a time to write the song. He ready to go on to the next one.
Right.
So he wants you to be ready.
Right.
So Syke, all the thug life, all the outlaws, that's what they was trained under.
Right.
So that's the way they was able to do it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And then you got somebody like me who didn't rap and didn't do nothing.
Right.
But once I started my company, I trained them the same way that I seen it done every day. It was normal. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
Right.
You know, even though when I took over and made my company, I gave them a little bit more leeway. Where, like I say, we go to the studio, Pac say, drop a beat, album gonna be done. Well, I give them a beat at the house or the day before or whatever. We going to the studio tomorrow. Make sure you got everything that you want, your ups, your downs, all that shit, do that shit at home. Right. When we go in the studio, bam, we knocking it straight out. So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess you could say it rolls off.
Right.
And that's how I was telling you that he turned them upside down. Because now they looking at Pac like, damn, nigga, you got 100 songs? Right. I only got 2, nigga. So now they want to start working. Snoop, all them niggas, everybody now, they want to start working.
Daz, all of them, right?
All of them start working. Now, that was just one way he turned their company upside down.
Right.
Well, he also turned their company upside down because, again, they had the mentality that Dre is going to bring the money. Daz do the beat. We send it over here to Dre, let him twinkle with it, sign Dre like he did it, and we'll get a bigger check than to send it over there as being Daz. Right. So they wasn't really getting no credit because everything had to go through Dre so we can get the top dollar.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
But he wasn't really doing the work. So when Pac got over there, okay, what Death Row them had, you know, and I guess it was kind of like, I would put in the words of a treasure chest to a nigga like Pac.
Right.
Well, they had a room where you know how every nigga send you take like, oh nigga, I could do some beats, you know what I'm saying? Especially with Death Row, you know how big they is. So niggas sitting them. So they hired a couple of them niggas and they stuck them all in a room. You know. So when Pac got there, I think they called it the dead room or something they called it. But Suge is telling Pac like, nigga, why you want to keep on, you know what I'm saying, getting these niggas? You know, I can get the top producers and do that. He like, nah, man, this nigga fine. This nigga ain't got no name behind him or nothing. Oh, man, listen to that shit hot. You know, because that's how his mentality was.
Right.
You know? Suge, man, the nigga wanted to kick Johnny J out a long time. You know? But Johnny came in, you know, through us from way back.
Right.
You know? We been fucking with Johnny J, nigga, when he was talking about Candyman knocking boots.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He been putting out hits.
Right.
He did Evil Mind he did the whole album.
Right.
You know? So
he respected it.
well, again, that's where when you get to saying how was Pac doing things and was he doing this or was he doing that? Different little things you might can pick and you know, wonder with it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the reason I say that is because I just told you, Johnny J produced Evil Mind Gangster.
Right.
Pac was fiending on him.
Right.
So, quite naturally, he want that producer too.
Right.
So he was not going to let Johnny J do something.
Right.
Because he wanted that vibe.
Right.
So, again,
Dang.
Johnny J was in.
Dang.
You know. Thanks to Syke, because Syke, you know, Syke was Johnny J boy. You know, that's who,
Yeah.
you know.
So, okay, so it made perfect sense that when he came home from New York that he linked right up with you guys. Even though he was now with Death Row, he brought you guys along with him, right?
No, he never stopped. See?
That's what I mean. I'm sorry.
See, we walked him through all the jail.
Right.
Right. We was all there. We was still talking to him. Syke was what Syke was doing at the time he was in jail was he took over Thug Life Project. See, Pac, when he went to jail, he had 2 albums he had just dropped. He had Thug Life they dropped, and he had Me Against the World they dropped. See, both of them dropped at the same time. One was supposed to be this group thing, one was going to be a solo project, but they were supposed to be 2 different avenues.
Right.
But he ended up going to jail. So, Interscope, knowing that they just spent all this money, they have to recoup it.
Right.
So, they dropped Dear Mama first. Now, Pac in jail. So, how we gonna promote the album? Well, Dear Mama, we're gonna get this real mama and throw her in there. That's like him. You know, that's the way they looking at it. You know, that's so they go get Mom, they give her a couple of cameos, and it worked. Shit went out the water.
Right.
Blew up. So now Interscope is like, damn, they rolled the dice and won.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try it again and see what happens. So now they go get Jada, Pac people. They let her direct it and do all that shit.
Jada Pinkett?
Yeah. Album still claiming charts.
You said they let her direct it.
Well, that's what they did. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it wasn't like she was some.
Did you spend any time with her?
Yeah.
Did you see their friendship?
They had a great friendship.
Yeah.
Very, very close friendship. Yeah, they did. He talked about it all the time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like I said that she had the credit of directing. I'm not saying that she didn't or did.
Right. What
I'm saying is they needed something to tie into him.
Yeah.
To make it all seem like he was still in it.
Yeah.
And they knew that the world knew how close they were. So by they tying her name into the next video, you know, it worked. Like I said, then they got all the hot niggas up in there, you know what I'm saying? Ice-T, all them niggas came and did a cameo. You know, everybody showed up for it. So
yeah, one of the best songs ever, man.
Right.
If I gotta say, man, literally, God.
It's steady climbing the chart. So now, Interscope got a problem.
They need another video.
Well, they finna get another video. They did that too. You know, they rolled the dice and everything keep working.
Mm-hmm.
But how do you keep a man at bay that's got the #1 album in the world.
Right.
See, they started making their money. They ain't got the Pac problems. So to them, it's caviar.
Oh, it's in a way, it's good that he's there and just
Because he ain't creating
He
no
contained.
habit.
He's contained, yeah.
He ain't but he's steady creating money for them.
right.
So everything was going good. But the appeal came through. So now it's kind of like you kind of got to.
Mm-hmm.
But just give me, before I even ask you to answer the question, just tell me your honest opinion, what you think if you was in this position. You Interscope. Pac Bell just came up. He got the hottest album in the world right now. Do you go get him?
Hell yeah.
See, that's the way you thinking. But the white man can't think like that. Because he gonna get crucified if he go get him. The world not gonna let you go get some rapist man out of jail just to make some money off of him. They gonna crucify you. I probably gonna lose a couple more sales.
So they had to send a brother in to do it.
Now, why not? We not losing nothing. Everything Death Row make goes to us. Because we own them.
Right.
So, putting him over there ain't taking our money away from us.
Right.
But it's taking the responsibility of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it worked. You see?
So when he's got, okay, so he's home now. He's on death row.
Mm-hmm.
He's straight because he got his crew with him. He got his peoples, his groups, y'all his friends, confidants, everything. Y'all mob together like y'all been doing.
Right.
There was a transition happening at the same time as well.
I like my green with crystals like Folgers.
What's the reason that Pac started to pull away, really, to me, from Big Syke? Right? His #1 main guy, like you say, literally just went and picked him up from prison. You know what I mean? Was it something that Big Syke didn't like in what he was seeing? Or what was happening?
Well, okay. I'm going to back up, though, before I can answer the question.
Okay.
And because I'm going to give you the whole picture. It wasn't that he bagged away or everything split up. What ended up happening was, for, like I said, maybe the first 4 months that Pac came home, everything was cool, you know what I'm saying? We would probably go up to the studio and mess with Pac, you know what I'm saying? We going out every night. Everything is still cool. But what ended up happening for us was, especially me, myself, was I'm from LA, you know, and being from LA, you just know certain things because that's just the way we was raised.
Right.
You know, just like I don't see how the young rapper now that was just killed doing himself down there on Main in Manchester.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that just don't make no sense.
You just have no business.
I mean, everybody know that.
Right.
You would assume.
Right.
So, in that situation, we know that now, and don't get me wrong, it worked for Snoop all day long. You know, his whole career on death row,
Right.
basically. But us, and I guess at the stage that we was in life, just mixing the two just ain't a good thing. And niggas knew, again, I got to clarify when I say this, that niggas knew that Syke was from IVC. It was never no secret. You know what I'm saying? But in that same sense, we was all from there.
Right.
You know? But even though I never gangbang, I'm still loving my neighborhood 100%, and I'm behind them strong 100%. You know? They know that no matter that I wasn't in the gang with them, I'ma still represent them to the fullest because that's where I'm from. That's where I was born and raised.
Right.
And I love my niggas, my neighbors, I call them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I love all of them. So, in knowing that, like I said, we maybe started not going to the studio as much because, again, once alcohol get involved, anything can happen. And then you got some young nigga probably just fresh out of jail, you know. And what I didn't like about Death Row, which really stopped me from going completely, was if we pulled up to the studio, say we was all at Park House and we like, come on, we finna go to the studio. Then we gonna pull up and walk straight in. You know, pistols packing, whatever. We gonna walk straight through the metal detector, straight to the whatever, and we chilling. But let's say that y'all was already at the studio. And I called y'all on the phone like, what's up? And like, oh, nigga, we at the studio. Come on up here. Well, nigga, when we get there, you going to get patted down. you going to get searched. you going to get everything. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So sometimes you in there maybe safe and sometimes you not. Or you don't know who in there and who ain't. So wondering how you want to look at it. You see what I'm saying? So it just wasn't...
So it was just really maneuvering the LA shit and being safe, making smart decisions. Is it that?
I wouldn't say that. I would say, again, it was the way we was raised. So it just happened. Right. It wasn't like, oh, nigga, I ain't coming up there because I don't think it's safe. You just didn't do it. Right. You see what I'm saying? Eventually, you just wasn't going.
Right, like the Roscoe shit. You just don't do it. Exactly. I ain't never thought about not doing it. I just ain't never done it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, you know, it was in that type of situation.
So you think they didn't have an official falling out of any kind?
Who?
Pac and Syke.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. No, they did. Again, like I say, and it wasn't like... let me see, how can I say it? It wasn't like not a love falling out. You know, I guess you could say this ended up being over business. And back like I was saying, you know, people say different things. So it might have been a little bit of jealousy. Not saying that either one of them was jealous, but maybe one of them thought maybe the other one could have been.
Oh, okay.
In that type of situation.
Oh, so was that like we still got love, but man, I ain't fucking with that motherfucker today or whatever or now.
Well, no. Okay. Well, let me just break the whole story down and then we'll go from there. What ended up happening in the situation was Pac came home. Once he came home, he dropped the album, All Eyes on Me. Instantly went to #1 at the chart. Right? Now Pac feeling good. He home again. He got the #1 album on the street. You know, all eyes on him, as you could say. So that's how he feeling. Well, even though he might have had the #1 album on the street wasn't on Pac like that.
Right.
They was on, I got keys from overseas. Right. So that's all you heard when you pull up that nigga car. Yeah. That's all niggas was spitting. When you see niggas, I got keys from overseas, call the nigga 200 G. Right. See, so I guess you could say at that particular time, Syke kind of stole the shine a little bit. Because that's, you know, even though it was Pac album, the niggas on the street was only kicking that little, you know, phrase. Yeah. So what ended up happening, and then this is where I was telling you back then when we was talking back there, about the Reggie White situation. Because he get out there and say, well, maybe Syke was disloyal, trying to go behind Suge back and do all this. It wasn't that. Syke was always loyal to Pac from day one. It never wandered, it never switched. That's how Syke was. But what people don't understand was Syke also was tight. You see what I'm saying? He was tight about his money. He just wasn't, you know what I'm saying, a nigga that was just freely giving his paper out, and, you know, you was going to have to really do, you know what I'm saying? It was kind of like a wrench. Right. You know what I'm saying? You just can't unloosen that motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? And that's how he was. So what ended up happening was, once everybody was on that and everybody seen that Syke had the little glow right then, quite naturally everybody tried to cash in on it. So you had Suge step to Syke and was like, look, nigga, we need to do a big Syke album right now, you know. Nigga, you shining. But the loyalty that Syke is, quite naturally, he say, yeah, that's fine and dandy, but I'ma sign through Pac label. Now, Pac want to sign through you, you know, for the distributor, however they do it. You know how they pass it on down. Right. That's cool with him. But Syke was not going to go without Pac situation. So, what Pac did was like, okay, that's good. But maybe before we drop your album, since you got the little bug, maybe we need to do another Thug Life album right quick. So Pac switched it and added himself into it. Now, I mean, businessman of mine or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You know, like I said, we all running, so ain't nobody looking at nothing funny, you know what I'm saying? So, once they do all that, and Pac, Syke, he with that. You know, he with the Thug Life album because, look, again, he lost. So, you know, that's the angle we going, nigga. We going to drop that, then drop my album, fine. You know what I'm saying? Draw up the paperwork. You know, let's do it. So, they drew up a contract and gave it to Syke. Well, the problem was, and we didn't really mention him, but my nigga Bogart.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Bogart was Syke homeboy.
Okay.
They knew each other. But when he went to get Pac out of jail, he took him with him. Now, Bogart was one of them. He was a youngster, but, you know, he was one of them big, heavy-set, body type niggas. You know what I'm saying? So they used to always walk around and use him like he was the bodyguard type of nigga. Right. You know, that's what they always say. He used to kind of try to act like it. So, basically, that's what that was. So, once the contract finally got printed and gave to Syke to sign, what ended up happening was Bogart ended up being in the contract. Now, again, I break down the details, you know, when I come out with the book and everything, all
that's
the
fine,
percentage and all that type of shit. But his name ended up in Syke contract. So, Syke's like, look, nigga, I don't know why he in my contract. Get that nigga his own contract.
Right.
You know. But I think in that instant, Pac was, what I would say, maybe going to school by Suge. You know, Pac probably, like I said, all this business that we did, let's just say all that Thug Life, the whole Thug Life album, everything that we was doing, right? It wasn't not a signature in sight.
Right.
Niggas ain't signing no nothing, nigga. We just, hey, you want to jump on this? Come on.
Right.
And that's how it was. You know, I mean, I'm sure by the time the record company bought it and got sold, they had to sign off by then. But, you know, everybody was doing stuff, like I said, we were just hanging. It wasn't no paperwork involved and none of that.
Okay. Oh, go ahead.
So, once Pac came with the Bogart and Syke contract, Syke was like, oh, no, man, take him out of my contract and give him his own contract. So, the split was Pac came back, you know, like I guess negotiation. He came back to Syke and said, look, man, that's the way the contract is, sign it or don't. So, you can tell what happened.
Sign it or don't, huh?
So, you know, Syke wasn't signing because Syke ain't giving his money to nobody.
Right. So it just didn't even.
So, you know, basically that was it.
Okay. All right.
That's basically where the split came in.
And now, does that also mark sort of the time when y'all really stopped fucking with him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
because them last 5 or 6 months.
that was it. That was, like
y'all
I said,
wasn't around, right?
that was maybe 6 months before he died.
Yeah.
It was around that time.
First of all, were you out there?
Vegas?
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. So you heard it went down, man. What's going through your mind? You know, because when he first got shot, he didn't die. You know what I mean?
Well, again, the same thing again as the first time. Once they called me and said Pac got shot, I started making arrangement to get to where he was at. That night, so happened was we was at the beach house where me and Syke was staying at the time, and they came in and they said Pac got shot. So, you know, we started making the little calls and talking to different little people, and they was like, yeah, it's true. So maybe, I want to say maybe the next day, excuse me, that me and Syke got in the car, went and met with Johnny J. He was at some club he was at working. We met with Johnny J. and we drove to Vegas all that night. So by the time we got to Vegas, you know, the family had came in. You know, Mom was with us, so Mom was ended up talking to Pac Mom. I was talking with the Outlaws, you know, seeing, you know, all this and that. And we was there probably for about 4 days when they say he had passed. The coolest thing about it was we were just at the hospital and Mom was talking to his mom, right? And they came and got her. So when they came and got her, you know, we ain't thinking nothing of it. We gets in the car and we going, my buddy used to live out there, so we was going to his house. And on the way to his house, on the radio, they say Pac died. And again, we said, man, I go that fake news. We just left the hospital.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's that fake news. So by the time we got to his house, he said, man, they said Pac just died. And we was like, man, we was up there. They said, no, man, everybody going up there. So we got back in the car, went back up there. And he had the last cardiac arrest, and Mom just cut the switch instead of, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
Dang.
yeah, that's how that was.
Damn. You know what's amazing, man, is that Pac touched so many people that it's almost like he's still here, man. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I guess you would say he probably got that from his mama because his mama was like that too. They was like magnets to people. But yeah, you would have to know him. I mean, very loving character, giving person, you know. Very sensimatic, you know what I'm saying? And Pac, like I said, he kind of got a knack for just kind of like knowing people, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And it is what it, you know. Yeah, he got a good knack with people. He's got a good spirit.
Dang, man. I mean, you could tell he was different, man. He just had like a flair and like a glow type shit. You know what I mean?
He did.
Dang.
He did.
Well, look, man, you gave us a lot of information, bro. We've been talking for 2 hours almost.
It is.
There's probably like a million more things we really could talk about.
It is. It is.
So that means we're gonna have to do a part 2, man.
Yeah, okay.
We're gonna have to do a part 2, man. I might, even if I gotta come to where you at, we will figure this out.
Yeah.
But I just would say, man, me as a lucky fan that just have exposure to Pac and also Big Syke. I don't want to like leave him out of the discussion because he was like an important pillar for Pac. You know what I mean?
He was. Like I said, well, again, that probably again was a little bit thing that played on him because what happened was it was an incident where in one of Pac's songs he was saying that he got a bond, you know, he got a bond through life and death or something, you know, where he got Mentor and Kato tatted on his arm. Mm-hmm. Well, really that's Syke. So we might have been around the house, was like, was that nigga talking about me? You know what I'm saying? And that saying as if it was him. Mm. So that's why I said we're not saying that jealousy was in there, but certain times somebody might have mentioned something.
Yeah, it was playing.
And it was like, you know what I'm saying? Because Pac didn't have Kato and Mentor tatted on him. That was Syke.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So by him saying it, quite naturally Syke was going to look at it a certain type of way.
Yeah. But he probably was paying homage in some kind of a way. I don't know. That's the way I would speculate.
Well, again, you could take it so many ways.
Right, you can.
You know.
Exactly.
And like I said, it wasn't too big of a thing because that wasn't, you know what I'm saying, like the end. You know what I'm saying? That was just something that was saved. Yeah. And a lot of time went on after that. Yeah, so it wasn't like it was some big old thing. It was just something that he had noticed and just spoke on it. You know.
Gotcha. Okay, man. Well, look, bro. Man, I felt honored to have this discussion with you, man. Definitely gave me some good insights. Answer some questions for people in the world, man. And we're gonna do a part 2, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, it's a lot more that we have to expose.
We gotta unpack, right?
Yeah, so
yeah. All right, my G.
Hey, I'm
One
glad
love,
you have
bro.
me, man.
Yes, sir,
Anytime.
man. We're gonna do the damn thing. All right, party people. Thanks for tuning in, Mike Robertson Boulevard, and we gonna get it. All right. Peace.
I like my green with crystals like Folgers.